What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. Today I'm going to cover a topic for people that are newer to the game or don't have experience with franchise mode or don't have experience with relocating a team in Madden. What I want to do is just give a first-hand example, a first-hand rundown of how to relocate a team if you haven't done it before, or maybe you don't know exactly how to do it or how to go about doing it and some of the settings that are involved with it. And hopefully this can help you guys out if you're trying to relocate a team. So first things first, we're just starting off at the main menu. We're going to jump into a new franchise. I'm going to go to Cloud. You can do it offline if you choose to, but I'm going to go to Cloud and hit Create New Franchise. And we're actually going to... I guess it really doesn't matter. It's probably best off if I show you using custom roster, because if we use real life, we'll be starting late into the season. So we'll use custom roster. You can relocate if you start late into the season. It's just you're going to have to go through off season and everything before you actually get the options to relocate and stuff like that. So it's better off if you start early, and you'll be able to then relocate quicker and easier that way if that's something that you want to do. So first things first, we'll just pick a team. You know what? I'm just going to close my eyes, scroll through a bit here, go left, go right, and we landed on the Panthers. Okay, so we're going to be relocating the Panthers. We're going to need to talk about the settings that we want to do in order to actually relocate the team. So first things first, we're going to go to league settings. This is always the case. And actually, we don't want to do that first. We want to change our role. First things first, you want to be an owner. You will not get the option to relocate unless you're an owner. This is crucial to relocating a team and franchise. If you haven't done this before, if you haven't played the game before, you haven't relocated a team before, if you have the desire to do it, you need to start as an owner. That gives you the option to basically control your stadium, control your finances, and everything like that. And that's going to be important for you. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to select a option between these three. It really doesn't matter what type of owner you pick. I suggest that if you're really looking to relocate, you're better off starting off as a financial mogul because you get the additional funds at the beginning, but there's a way to get around that. We're just going to go with new owner here, and I'll show you the way to get around the money in a second if that is an issue for you. Now, the next thing you're going to, like I said, you're going to want to go into league settings. Doesn't matter most of these settings except for one, which is the relocation settings. Now, under the relocation settings, this is going to be normally set to normal. It's going to say choose to allow relocation for any team, turn it off, or have the game decide when a team can relocate. So if you have it set to normal, the game decides when a team can relocate. And essentially what that means is that your stadium rating has to be low enough to actually be able to relocate. So if you're a team that has a really bad stadium, it will give you the option to relocate. As you progress into the future, let's say you're a team that has a nice stadium, you will only get the option to relocate if you don't upgrade your stadium at all. You let it just start to regress as you go forward, and the rating will go down over time. Then it will allow you to rebuild a new stadium or relocate at that point in time, but only at that point. However, if you want to automatically start a relocation and have the option to do it, you can set it to users only or everyone can relocate. I just suggest you set it to everyone can relocate. You might end up with some AI teams that end up relocating from time to time, but realistically, if you're trying to relocate a franchise, that shouldn't bother you too much. If you want to just set it to users only, you can do that and avoid the AI doing it. I'm going to set it to everyone can relocate. That way I know for sure that I have the option to relocate. Everything else from this point doesn't really matter to us in terms of how to relocate a team. You just want to make sure you set the setting to relocate so that everybody can relocate or users can relocate. Doesn't matter, one or the other. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait for your stadium rating to drop below a certain threshold, which I believe is like 20, which is really hard to get down to for some teams, especially some of the newer teams in the NFL. But if you're an older team, have an older stadium, you will be able to probably relocate even if it's set to normal. Anyway, we're going to set it to everyone can relocate, and then we're going to back out here. Like I said, make sure that you have your role set to owner. That's the only way you're going to be able to relocate. And then I'm going to select my starting point. We're going to start in preseason and hit start playing. Now, you're not really going to get the options to start doing the relocation until I want to say it's like week 3 or later. It's very similar to scouting, where it doesn't kick in until a certain point in the season. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to your owner tab here, and you can look at your stadium and everything. You can look at all the different options that you have. And like I said, if your rating is at a certain point, you won't be able to relocate on the normal setting. So if you need to relocate, if that's what your desire is to do year 1, make sure that you don't have it set to normal. Otherwise, for example, the Panthers here, I wouldn't be able to relocate. I would have to wait for my stadium rating to go down before I would have the option to relocate. And then let's see, we can do, I don't believe it's, yeah, here we go. So because I have it set to everyone can relocate, I can begin the relocation process immediately. So at any point during the season, we're in preseason right now, I'm going to click the relocate button, and that will get the process started. And you're going to hit confirm relocation, and then it's going to pop up with this screen that says relocation started. I'll check with a couple cities and see if anyone's interested. Keep an eye on your things to do in a couple of weeks to choose a city. Okay, so you're not going to get any options to do anything right now at this point in time, but I do want to show you guys the fix. If you do run into money problems, you can go over to options, you can go to user management, and if you click on the user teams here, you can just click on whatever user team it is, probably yourself, and hit add $5 million in funds. And you can just do this over and over again to give yourself additional money if the money is a problem. Obviously, if you're playing a realistic league, I don't recommend, giving yourself a ton of funds or something like that to cheat. If you're wanting to play realistic, definitely try and give yourself a challenge by not adding funds. As you can see, I clicked it 5 times, so I'm now up to $325 million in the top right of the screen as opposed to $300 million. Now, let's get started with advancing, and I'll show you guys exactly when everything kicks in for you to be able to relocate. So like I said, you're going to need to start as an owner. You're going to need to start early in the season to be able to actually do it, because it pops up sometime between like week 3 and week 6 or something like that. And then that's when you're going to start to get the options to relocate. So let's go ahead and advance to next week. We'll just go week by week, and you'll get to see what pops up. Nothing should really pop up in terms of relocation, like I said, during the preseason or anything like this. So we're just going to keep going one by one, and it will pop up on this screen. If you have any relocation options, it will pop up on things to do. You can keep going back to the stadium screen. You can go here where you chose to relocate, and it's not going to give you anything to do. It's just going to tell you you'll be notified when it's time to choose our new city down there at the bottom, and it's going to say that the stadium is under construction even though you have not chosen any options yet. So don't let that fool you. Don't get worried and panicked and think, oh, it's building the stadium for me, it chose the city for me. That's not exactly the case. It's just saying that just to let you know, calm down, wait a bit before you actually have the option to do it. Let's go ahead and advance to week 1 and see when we actually get the opportunity to do these things. So we have no options here in week 1. Let's go ahead and continue.
Start your week by installing your game plan.
I really need to turn tips off real quick because this is going to get annoying. League settings, we want to go to, I highly recommend you guys turn this off yourselves because I find it extremely annoying whenever tutorial pop-ups are on. It's just uber annoying to hear someone talking over me the entire time. So let's go ahead and advance to week 3. Obviously we haven't gotten anything yet. Yeah, and so now we get the option to actually start scouting players. So you get the option to scout players in week 3. And then soon enough, we should get the options for our stadium. Still not there yet. Like I said, sometime after week 3. There we go. It's week 5. So 100% confirmed it's week 5. I know I get mixed up on the weeks because I don't do this a whole lot. We actually don't play a whole lot of relocation franchises. But in week 5, you will get the first option, which is to pick the location of your team, the actual relocation part of it. So you're going to select this option up at the top that says Start Relocation, View Available Cities, and you'll have the option to pick between all of these different cities. There's a lot of great options in here, from Mexico City, Toronto, London, just about anything you can imagine. I'm just going to keep scrolling through them until I get back around to the beginning, just so you guys can get an idea of where you can move to. some really nice options here, and there are 3 different team names available in each location. So keep in mind, you're going to be limited on your choices. They're all out there on the internet somewhere. So if there's a specific city that you're looking for, or a certain color of uniform that you're looking for, whatever it might be, in terms of a relocation, I recommend you go out on Google and just research Madden's relocation teams, and you'll get a good list to choose from, and you'll be able to see the uniforms ahead of time so you know what you're choosing from. For this purpose, we're going to go with, actually, I want to go to Dublin, because I like some of the Dublin ones that are over there. We're going to go to Dublin, Ireland, and then click it. And that's all we can do for the week. You're going to be locked into that city from that point forward, and then you're going to go to advance, and you're going to be able to get another option in the next week, which should be to choose the name. So we're going to pop up with the choose the name option here, and you have 4 different options. You can choose your current name, which is generally speaking not going to have a ton of fan interest. But you can always do that. There are definitely teams that are likely to do things like that, like the Raiders moving to Vegas, for example. Or you can choose between 3 names that are suggested for that city. So the Dublin Celtic Tigers, the Dublin Antlers, and the Dublin Shamrocks. Now, I think any of those are actually decent. I really like the Dublin Celtic Tigers as a team, so that's why I selected this one. So we're going to go ahead and go with the Celtic Tigers, and each of these 3 teams is going to have 3 uniform options each. So we'll see that, I believe, in the next week. Whenever we advance here, you'll get another option to select your uniform options. So we're going to go choose our uniform, and you're going to be able to pick between 3 different options. Now, they're going to be very similar. You're going to just see minute details between them. I personally like this first one quite a bit compared to the other ones. I don't know why, it's just a sleeker look, so I'm going to go with this one. And then the other thing that you have to consider is that the fans are going to have a suggested opinion on one or the other. I don't really think that affects anything, personally speaking. I think that as an owner, there are options to have fan happiness increase and decrease, and I think that if you pick the one that the fans are more interested in, then your fan happiness might increase or decrease. But generally speaking, I would suggest don't worry about that popularity of the name or the uniform or anything like that. Pick what you want, and as you win games, your fans will get happier over time anyway. So I suggest just picking the uniforms that you like and being done with it and being happy with your choice. And then in the next week, I believe we will finally get the last option, which is to choose your stadium. We'll be able to choose our stadium here, and you get the option between a bunch of different basic stadiums, which are the basic canopy, the basic futuristic, hybrid, sphere, and traditional, or you can get the deluxe option of each of those stadiums. Now, there are cost-benefit ratios to each of these things, and if you don't really know what that means, I would suggest maybe doing a little bit of research online as to which one you are interested in, but there can be some simple math done here. Your team makes money each week. As you guys can see, we started off with $325 million in the top right. We're up to $356 million. Each week, an amount of money for the new stadium will be deducted from your weekly revenue. So if you pick the most expensive stadium, which I believe is the Deluxe Futuristic Stadium, you're going to be deducted $0.45 million per week from your income, which can be a big hit for teams that don't make a lot of money, especially if you go to a city that doesn't have a large fan base. So there are some factors at play there that you want to consider. If you want to make money and you want to be able to support a deluxe futuristic stadium, you might want to consider going to a bigger market, a bigger city, than going to some of the smaller market, more laid-back fan bases that aren't going to be able to attend those games and pay for all those seats and be able to allow you to recoup the cost that it's having you do of that stadium. So I wouldn't personally, if I was going to Dublin, pick the Deluxe Futuristic Stadium. I would probably pick maybe one of the basic stadiums, just for the simple fact that it's going to cost me a lot less money, and because the fan base is smaller and not as necessarily interested as some of the other places. So we're going to go with basic futuristic stadium. We're just going to begin construction on it. It's going to give you a lot of nice details here. So some of the basic stadiums come with like level 2 stuff. And actually, if you press X, you can scroll through them as well. And if you go with the deluxe stadiums, they come with automatic level 5 in every single facility category. So that's one of the big advantages of it. But the other thing that you consider is if you pick one of these basic stadiums, you have the option to still upgrade your stadium over time. So it's going to be difficult to get all those upgrades for you, but it's going to cost you less money in the end, I believe, to actually do it that way. We're going to go ahead and just pick the basic futuristic stadium, like I said. And then from this point forward, there's not much that you have to do. You pretty much are just waiting until the next season, whenever you will be in the new stadium and you will be under the new name. So I'm going to go ahead and advance week by week. Actually, I'm not going to advance week by week. I'm going to sim to the playoffs. And then I'm going to show you guys at which point your team is actually going to transition over to the new name and over to the new stadium. So go ahead and advance to playoffs. It obviously won't be during that season in which you began the relocation. It will be after the fact that actually ends up popping up for you guys. And that's pretty much how it is. That's how you relocate in Madden 20. It's super simple. Not as much to it as some people might have you believe. So don't be afraid to go out and experiment with a relocation. So let's go ahead and we will advance forward. We are still the Panthers, as you guys can see, with some of those little logos that have popped up. And we're just going to keep going week by week here. We are the Panthers back in the background still. Advance to the next week. Oh, didn't mean to click that. Alright, we are up to the Super Bowl. And we are still the Panthers. Now let's see if when we transition over to the off season, if we have become the new team or not. Yes, as you guys can see, and as I predicted, we are now the Dublin Celtic Tigers. You can see the gear on my coach, the logo in the background have all changed over to my new team. So if you start a relocation during a specific season, once you are past the Super Bowl phase, you will automatically jump over to whatever the new relocation city is that you decided to pick. And so if I look at the standings, it's going to show Celtic Tigers as opposed to the Panthers. If you go ahead and look at the roster, it should pop up with your new team name on there as well. So it pops up with Celtic Tigers. And your players, whenever you click on them, should pop up in the new gear as well. So if I clicked on, Christian McCaffrey, for example, he should pop up in the new uniform. If we give it a second, yep, so he's in the new green uniforms for the Dublin Celtic Tigers, looking really nice there. I personally like these uniforms a lot. And then you won't be able to actually have access to the new stadium, obviously, until you hit preseason of the next year. So let's go ahead and sim advance to the preseason. I might just jump into a game for you, not actually play anything, but show you the new stadium. Your last game will be the last game of that season where you relocate. So our last game would have been week 17 because we didn't make the playoffs. I'm going to go ahead and I guess I can't force advance past this stage, but you guys are just going to have to trust me because I don't want to start the draft and sim through it or anything like that. You're just going to have to trust me on the fact that now that we are the Celtic Tigers, we'll be playing in the new stadium of our choosing. Starting in the preseason. So whichever home game is your first home game, that's when you're going to restart. And that's all there is to relocating a team in Madden. Just to recap it for you, you want to start as a coach. You want to have relocation set to users or everyone. And then in addition to that, you're going to start in week 5. It's going to begin giving you the options to relocate. I recommend going into the actual owner mode, going to your stadium as soon as possible, even preseason week 1, and hitting the relocation option down at the bottom. And that's going to give you the best options in terms of relocating, because waiting for it to pop up for you could cause complications. I know situations where people have been waiting for the option to relocate to pop up, and then it never does. So I know that it has caused issues for people in the past, so don't let that happen to you. Actually come in here to the stadium view and hit relocate as soon as you can, and then once week 5 rolls around, it will give you the options to begin actually performing the relocation. Hopefully this helps you guys out in some way. I know that this is a bit of a beginner's video, but there are a lot of people that I know haven't experienced experimented with relocations in Madden 20. It can be a super fun way to actually play the game, so I highly recommend you guys go out and try it. If you do do a relocation, let me know down in the comment section which team you're going to pick. Send me some pictures of your uniforms, whatever it might be. Leave a like on the video if it did help you guys out, or if you like the content. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and comment down below what you guys would like to see next. I'll add it to the list and get to it whenever I can. I have a lot of videos lined up from you guys giving me comments down below, so you guys make my life really easy, and I really appreciate all your support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.